Good evening and welcome to the Gordy and Gubbs podcast. We're going to try something different tonight. We're going to go live and we're just going to reflect on the match we just watched. Gordon's been watching it over in Seattle. I'm a few thousand miles away here in the studio. How are you, Gordon?
I'm very well, thanks, John. Mustn't grumble yet.
Yeah. We normally speak during the international break, but I was away on a little filming trip, so we didn't do one during the international break. And obviously things have changed since we last spoke. We've got a new manager at Manchester United, Ruben Amorim. And I think what I like to say is the first two matches, for me, has been pretty much an audition. And I feel like he's going through trying to try out all the players in different positions. We were a little bit lucky tonight. We got the win, but I see that's mainly down to the finishing of Rasmus Hojlund. I've always said, I think I've said previously on our podcast, I'm a big fan of Rasmus Hojlund. I don't think he's had enough service, but tonight he took his chances. What's your verdict on the game, Gordon?
Well, I thought when they came out, and we've got to, remember that they're Old Trafford, and playing at Old Trafford is always going to be, or should be, an advantage. Bodo have got an average crowd of about 6,500, where United have got a crowd of about 70,000. And what's happening? What happened tonight was the first half. I watched the first half, John, and I really thought that Bodo put up a great show, and they went behind 1-0 by a mistake by the goalkeeper, which was ridiculous. And then Bodo scored two great goals, two fabulous goals to actually put it, say, for instance, 2-1 at Old Trafford. And I was impressed with their attacking until the half time came. And I put it down on my Twitter as well. And I just said, it'll be interesting to see how the second half starts. And believe it or not, United came out and had a little bit more tempo and they wanted to get stuck into them. And they did. And Bodo sat back. And then the next second, it's 2-2 at half time. And now United get one 3-2. And I thought, well, they're going to go on to score maybe 3, 4, 5 goals. It didn't materialize. It was like a dead end. It was like, okay, we've got 3. And I tell you what, why don't we start playing some other players and have a look at them? And you're absolutely right. It's like an audition, but they're playing in a league for that audition. And some of the players are out there, you're scratching your head. Some players you're going, why? Some players you're going to give him a go. And you saw that, and you've got to realize that Bodo are coming to one of the biggest clubs in the world to try and get a result. And they nearly did. If it wasn't for, the keeper, it could have well been 3-3. And so there's a lot of work for Amorim. You could see the frustration on his face during the game, and he was looking. I think he's looking to players that he may keep, may not keep, and especially with the January window coming up. He got 3 points, which was fine, which will carry him through, which will put us into about 10th or 11th place, something like that. But to me, I'm sorry, but it's not convincing. And it's, what are they going to do when they play against the bigger clubs, the ones that are in the top 10 and the top 5? And that's the shaky bit. But he's got his work cut out, I can tell you that, John. And anybody that knows what the United story is they won't accept second best. So he's come with all, his aura and his charismatic, character. I want to see that now go on the field, because tonight I saw a lot of passing sideways, which I didn't like too much. It was like, well, let's take our time. Let's pass this ball around and see what's happening and see if we can construct something. And it didn't. Bodo stood there and I just said, second half, when that started and I watched it, I said, now's the time to like put the pressure on. Now go and get 2 or 3 goals, and then you can try. But it went to the final minute, John.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Onana's been, I mean, statistically in the Premier League, he's been the most consistent goalkeeper in the Premier League. I know he's had a lot of critics in his first season, but I'm a big fan of Onana. I think he's a great character. He's got personality to be a Manchester United goalkeeper, which I think is half the battle. You mentioned there about the fact that Bodo have got 6,000 fans, and I think they brought more than 6,000 fans to this game, and I'm pretty sure that their support of this game was bigger than what they normally have for a home game. So that was pretty remarkable, wasn't it?
Oh, all of a sudden, out of the blue, the cameras shoot from there to the Bodo supporters, and it was like they're everywhere. And they were, I'm saying, well, you could use them to be a demolition crew to knock down the stadium, because they were jumping up and down so much that they were, and it was lovely to see. And it was nice, and they scored two fabulous cracking goals, and could have had another one if it hadn't have been for the keeper doing a little bit of magic with his body, legs, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, they certainly put up a good show for a Norwegian team, and I was very impressed with them coming for. But they didn't look a 90-minute team.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was to me it was, well, if you put them under pressure, they're going to give you. They made a lot of very what we call elementary mistakes, which we should have punished them, but unfortunately, United didn't punish them.
The worrying thing for me is that we've had 2 games. We've had almost like we've been given a goal start, but we haven't been able to sort of move on from that. I mean, in the first half, for me, Bodo were the better team, and for them, bringing their 6,000 fans, this is probably one of the biggest games in their history. For them, it's like pretty much like a cup final. And we have to remember they're only a Norwegian team, so they're not really a strong team. But, I think you said, well, perhaps before we came on the air, that when the United come up against a better team, it's going to be much more of a test, isn't it? And I'm going to go to the game against, I wasn't at the game tonight, but I was at the game, the previous Europa League game. I do like the atmosphere you get at these Europa League games, because the previous game against PAOK, the Greeks, they had about 6,000 fans there. And it is pretty impressive. We could do with that sort of support from the home fans, to be honest. I mean, we go a little bit quiet in some of these games. We're not playing the big teams. But the support is there, and it was good. The one thing I was kind of pleased with, which I kind of we always expect, is Ruben Amorim got a great reception. And even right at the end, I mean, Erik ten Hag always got the support inside the stadium. So the support is always there. But I do feel the way that Old Trafford is designed, the away fans have probably got the best part of the ground acoustically, because they do create an awful lot of noise. And sometimes the Stretford end make a lot of noise, but sometimes the rest of the ground can go a little bit quiet for me. So I don't know how they fix that. They might not fix it until they go to the new stadium. When I went to the session a couple of weeks ago, when they were giving us the plans about what they can do with the new stadium, they were making a big point about the fact that the architects they got on board, they've got these acoustic experts. So hopefully they can do something, whether they do an upgrade of Old Trafford and fix the acoustics at Old Trafford, or they're going to just start from scratch and have a superb acoustics at the new stadium. But I think sometimes the away support for these games, when we've got these games against these smaller teams, it really does lift the away team, doesn't it? And it seemed to do that in the first half.
Well, John, to be honest with you, we've always had the fans on our side at Old Trafford. We've always had the noisiest fans when you're playing, and I can vouch for that, of actually playing in front of them and knowing what they're like and what they can spur you on to do and give you confidence and all that. I don't think that's going to ever be in doubt. I think it's like you said, you're going to get the new builders and the architects and the acoustic people sitting down and saying, how can we best get the effects of this type of building, this type of building? If they're going to build a new United Stadium, I hope it does consist of all those elements, but I still think that they've still got to really consider the elements that made it such a great stadium in the first place, and not just build it and say, yeah, I mean, we're seeing fantastic stadiums, and they're all named after certain companies and built. And you have to ask sometimes, whose is that stadium? You know, if you say, for instance, White Hart Lane, what is their stadium? What is that? What is that called? What is, you've got the Emirates Stadium. People that don't know the Emirates Stadium are going to ask, who's that? Old Trafford, you don't have to. Main Road was, traditional, but now you've got these companies that are naming these stadiums, and players have got to play in front of them. I've had a lot of people talk to me about it and say, "What do you think?" And I said, "You can build up Old Trafford, but you've got to bring it into the 22nd, 21st, 24th, 25th. The next element of the game. It's growing, it's developing. Technology's got it now. The architectural world's coming into it. Is it going to be a state of the art? It will be a state of the art. But I still think you really still got to keep the history with it, as well as. And I agree with the supporters on that. But I get it on my Twitter account a lot. A lot of the supporters that, oh, well, we're going to do this. And I'm only echoing what I went through. And this refers to, John, and everybody out there, this refers to the numbers on shirts. Now, I may be changing the subject just a bit, but I reflect on the people that wear the number that I wore. I'm not talking 7, 10, 9. I'm talking about, do you know where these positions are? 27, 35, 99. Unless they have no name on the back, you're questioning yourself. And so I questioned Xerxes.
I saw a post you made on
with
Twitter about Xerxes being the number 11, and
Yeah, I didn't
tell us about that.
I didn't mean anything else, but there's some absolutely superb wingers that have wore that number, and that is synonymous with good players, great players, good. And then you look at someone and say, well, he's not a winger. So you give him a number. Is it because it was available? And so that tradition has gone from clubs completely, where you'd go into a club, John, and you'd see 1 to 12. And if you had a certain shirt number, you know that position. Well, you don't know it now. You're just having to look at the team and say, well, where does he play? Oh, he's he'll play in the midfield, even though he's got a double-digit number on his back. And to me, it's lost a bit. I cherish that 11. Giggsy would have cherished that 11. Sharpie would have cherished that 11. Whoever wore it, it's just, I don't know. It's me. It's just me.
I kind of agree with you, but I don't want us to sound like two old guys remembering the past and not embracing
not the past.
future.
I love it. But I think there's still room in the game for that to be, he's got number 7 on. He's got number 11 on. He's playing. Positional play is only really what people know. You can't say to me now, tell you what, number 1, yeah, that's normally the keeper. 2 is the right back. 3 is the left back. 4, 5 midfield. Central defense. So now you've got to look at their names to see where they're playing. I'm not having a go. I'm not going back in time. I'll change with the rest of us into the 24th, but I just don't like I didn't like what I saw. And it's not because, it was not because, how can I put it? It's very, the position that number 11's always carried. That's all. I don't care who plays number 7 or who plays number 10. It was just at that time, my number 11. And, and I've got my shirts upstairs in the wardrobe, and I look at it, and there's no number. You knew that player that played in that shirt. And if I didn't have it on a Saturday, I was either injured or not in the team. Somebody else got that shirt, and they said, it's a privilege to wear this shirt. That's all. I'm not having a go at anybody.
It does feel a little bit random sometimes when players get a number like Xerxes getting a number 11. I'm thinking maybe the answer is that to get one of those 1 to 11 numbers, you've really got to earn it. And if you come to a club like Manchester United, you're not going to be a regular starter in that position. Really, you shouldn't get a number in the 1 to 11. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe if you get a number 11 shirt, you've already got to earn that. And So like you've earned the right to have that number 11 shirt. Maybe you should be like 22 or something when he arrives rather than number 11.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But, if it changes, if they change it, that's great. If they don't, then fine. Football's still going to go on. It's still, rotating. The football will pass you by. It will, say hello to you and say goodbye to you. You can't stop the train. I mean, that is football will always be, and people will come in and make decisions about stadiums, decisions about supporters, decisions about numbers, and we're seeing the change all the time. I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. I just want to see what is on a simple game of football on the field where I want to score more goals than the opposition. I don't want to see a game of chess. I want to see somebody go out. I think the supporters want to see managers put a team out there that, that wow, this excites me. I can watch it. It's not grabbing. And what we're seeing now is, if you look at the game on the whole, the bigger one, we've got this Europa. That's the Super Club League. You got Champions League, Super Cup. So they've created that without telling you it's the Super Club. It's a Super Cup. They just cloaked it and called it another name. Next year they'll be over here in my part of the world, Super Club World Cup. That's just like having a Super Cup in Europe.
Yeah, I do feel there's a bit of a power battle at the moment. We've got you. We're pretty much in the second division of the European Super League, with the Champions League being the first division. We're in the second division,
Yes.
conference in the third. But next year you referred to the Club World Cup, which I think we should talk about another day because we are live. Let's just go back to tonight's game. I
I
think.
mean, that's another discussion, and we can have that. But yeah, on tonight's performance, what I saw was, he's got his work cut out. I think he's got to be back now. I mean, it was like the sheriff and his posse was riding into town when they all got off the plane. But I think they don't realise that they're going into Dodge, and it's not going to be hunky dory. And we're going to bring, Portuguese football's Portuguese football. It's not Premiership. Same as I said about the Dutch. We're looking at the Dutch. The Dutch football is not Premiership football, and it's all changing.
I'm not against playing three at the back, and let's just mention some of the sort of the good bits and the bad bits. And for me, the players that stood out apart from Hojlund, I thought for me Mazraoui's been a great signing, and I think he's probably been
Yeah.
United's most consistent player this season, apart from Onana. I think he looks very comfortable at the back. Anybody else you think might have stood out tonight? I mean, we had Malacia coming back for the first time in 550 games. We had Mason Mount playing after a
Well,
bit of a
you
break.
could tell he wasn't. He got burnt in the first half for that goal. He got absolutely trounced. Dalla thinks
Malacia.
he can run through the world, and he loses the ball. And I think what you've got is we go around the houses and we talk a lot about it, but I think it's what you said at the beginning, is that everybody is auditioning for a position, and when Amorim turns around and says he wants you to go in this position, you go in that position. Like Anthony tonight got a run out. Did we see much of him? No, nothing. So, but he got a run out, and you're looking at other players getting run out, so to speak. Mount got a run out tonight, and then got substituted, and I think that's what's happening with Amorim. He's looking to say, well, okay, let me see you in this game, and this game. But the nice thing about it is that you got a result out of it, even though they weren't sparking. And that's, you look at it and say, well, at least we're getting a result, and the supporters are trying to see. But I think when you talk about the left backs and the right backs, I think they can have a good game if they get the ball on a consistent basis. Because if you think about it, John, there's no wingers going at them. It's great for a defender coming forward, But when you've got a winger that's keeping you and pegging you back, now you've got to start saying, okay, what type of defender is he? Can he defend? What about these tricky wingers? We don't see it because now we've got the inverted stuff.
Yeah,
So they're not being tested, John.
what I thought was impressive about Hojlund is because he hasn't had the service since he's been there from the wingers, like when you used to play with you on one wing and Stevie Coppell on the other. But tonight he had two good balls in and he scored two good goals. So that to me shows that if he does get more service, he's going to score even more goals. And I think he made the first goal. He scored the second two goals. He had good balls in. Mazraoui did brilliantly to create that one of those goals. And I think if he gets more service, to me, he looks like a striker that can score a lot of goals.
But my question to everybody and to yourself is, he's the only one that looks like he's going to score. Tonight, he looked like he was the only one that was going to get his goal. I mean, he got his first one by persistently trying to close the keeper down and then Garnacho came in. But if that hadn't have been in the goal, that would have been a penalty because the keeper couldn't do nothing else but pull him down. But then he gets a goal where it's an instinct, one touch on the left foot, right foot, flick it in, it's in the net. So and then you get the third one, which was made by a great ball across, a great ball. But where did the goals come from? They're coming from the wings. So why aren't they not being pestered?
Yeah.
Go at the defender, go at the defender, go at the defender. And then all of a sudden, you shot three, I thought, that would be great. Now, if you keep on persisting, give it to your winger, go at him. Don't go in. Don't close him. Don't take his space. Go at him. Go at him. Create it. Either pull it back or whip it over or whip it in. It causes problems for defenders when they're running back towards their goal. They've either got to put it out of touch or they could put it in the back of their net. I don't see enough of it. I see a lot of it going in and a lot of balls hitting somebody and going over the bar. I
like Garnacho. He's a good player and he has a lot of the ball, but I feel like he's got to practice his shooting or he's got to pass more because he misses a lot of chances, doesn't he?
Well, he's an impulsive player, John. He'll try something that might not work. He'll try something that might work. So really, what you're looking at is a player that has to settle down first, but he's still a young pup. He's still a young player learning that. When he gets certain chances, he'll score goals, but I don't think he'll get as many as everybody thinks he'll get. I think basically Hojlund up front to me could be, Ramus could be, and I've said this time and for months and months, you're going to have to work with him a long, long time and on a consistent basis to get him to produce goals every week or near enough chances every week. But then you've got to have somebody that's going to work by the side of him to pick up the pieces. Because there's a lot of balls that go in and that are bounced down and there's players there, not there. And I'm just wondering who would be the sides, who would be his number two. I mean, we saw a 3-4-3, or did we see a 3-4-3? We didn't really. We attacked when we had it. We dropped back. And then we looked as though, we'll settle for this 3-2. And I'm just going to tell you what, you do this against your Liverpools and your Man Cities and your Arsenals, and they'll come at you and they'll cut you to pieces. And I'm afraid the defenders they're not clever enough to pick up certain balls. And Bodo done it well tonight. Bodo played some great balls through, and it was just, they were unlucky. But what do we say? At the end of the day, John, the result is what matters. And you can see Amorim building, but you could see him on the sidelines. Oh dear, silently, oh dear. And I can see it a mile away. It's like, oh my gosh, what did he do there? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? We've practiced it, but he just needs a little bit more time.
I do feel we played a slightly different shape today. I think we played more of a 3-4-3, whereas against Ipswich, I felt we played 3-2, a 3-4-2-1. But what I worry about is that he's very much wedded to this sort of 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1 system. But has he got the players to play those positions? And
Well, we
is he
got caught
sort
out
of
on
banging
it,
his head
John.
against a brick wall if he's trying to make players that don't fit in those
That's
positions?
right. That's it. I totally agree. Those position. If you looked at it, the three at the back, they got caught 3 or 4 times, and Bodo went down and put it in because you had Casemiro trying to play a 50, 60, 70-yard ball. Martinez was going upfield and leaving that space open, and you're exposing those two players at the back. Now you've got Luke Shaw just coming back, and he needs time. And then you've got the other one, and I can't pronounce his name, but
Mazraoui.
he done. What's his name?
You got Mazraoui, the Moroccan, who I think has been pretty consistent.
Mazraoui. You know
Mazraoui.
who Mazraoui. That's it. Who's doing a decent job at right back, but there's no pressure on him.
Well,
There was no pressure on him.
I think he's going to be a valuable player because he's one of those players who's very much a versatile player who can play in different positions. He seems a very intelligent football player, and it was great skill that he set up that one of those goals for Rasmus Hojlund, which might have gone under the radar.
Yeah, that was a great ball, a great cross. That was a fabulous. That was really
But he showed
nice.
good feet. He showed good feet as well, didn't he? He showed good feet to create this.
Yes,
To create. He wasn't just
but
the ball.
how many of those come in, John? Not enough. I mean, it's like people say, "Oh, your football's way out of date." It's not. A cross is a cross in any game. Danger is, and a centre forward is danger. You've got to mark him. If it drops, he's going to pick it up. And what did he do? He picked it up and scores a goal. But they don't get enough in. They don't cross the balls enough to see what the other team can do. How are they dangerous? Are they weak in the air? If they're weak in the air, we're going to, go on their vulnerable spot. But I didn't see that. I get frustrated when they get the ball, play it around the middle. And at one time, we were told, don't play a square ball. Now it seems to be the norm. So the game does change. Would I like that? No, because you haven't got wingers anymore. The old centre forwards are not, well, there are very few around now that will, get up and challenge. But I tell you something, I thought the referee tonight did very well. He let things go without stopping it every 2 seconds. And that's what that to me made for an exciting game, because he wanted to get the game going. And that's something that has changed. It's changed.
I do feel we get a better standard of referees in European football, and in the Premier League, we seem to be talking about referees too much, and we always end up talking about VAR, and at least we're not talking about VAR tonight. And I do feel more confident with the referees, I must admit, and I fully agree what you said there about the referee having a good game. The one thing that we have improved is that we do look like we can score goals, but we've got a limited number of players that can score the goals. And without Hojlund,
exactly.
might struggle. But the one player that worries me a little bit, we didn't get to see him tonight, but I'm a little bit worried about Xerxes. I mean, you mentioned him before because of the number and what should be having the number 11. But I do worry that he looks out of place a little bit for United. Do you think he's got a lot of work to get up to the level that we need?
I would not disagree with you. And I think they're trying to put him out in the January window. He's not United. He's not the United. He's not a United player in my eyes. There's something that's missing, and I think you can see it. And then you look at other players, and I feel that at this moment in time, John, United are like a jigsaw puzzle. They've got the pieces, but they don't know where to put them. And they don't want those. And if the pieces don't fit, they've got to get rid of. They've got to bring in. And that's what I said about Amorim. He's got a very big job to be able to do that with his posse that he's got. And he's got to sit down. And I mean, to me, it was just like, okay, they got a result. And I sat here and I just thought, and my wife said to me, She said, Gordon, she said, some of them look as though they're just going through the motions. I said, exactly. I said, and that is frustrating. I said, but if you say something about it, people have a go at you about it, John. And it's
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
that. It's the standard that you're expecting from a club of that magnitude. And with everything changing, we talk about, we've talked about, stadium, tickets, prices, team, manager. It's not a small animal to deal with. And as I said, to get it all right, you're looking at a golden ticket. It's not going to happen. The infrastructure is too big for it to everybody chugging on the same wavelength going this way. Liverpool at the moment are doing very well, John. Man City are having a slip up. It happens in football, we understand. But I think this is the first time that I've gone back and I've looked at when we went down to the second division and we came up, how the changes it had to be to actually come back into the top of the division, challenging again. And I think I sit here and I go, okay, I look at the Doherty era, I look at the Atkinson era, I look at the Fergie era, and I look at it and I look at the different, and all different styles, but it was an attacking style that everybody approached it and got success of it. Now we've changed from having very, very much a British manager and players. Now we've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and we've got a coach that's got this style. We've got another coach comes in with this style. We've got an ownership group that comes into the club, and now they're looking to do this, this, and this. They're changing everything. They're upsetting supporters because they are charging this and this. There is, at this moment, it's like quicksand.
It
You
feels like there's
can't.
too much happening at the same time. I mean, I'd
Yes.
question the sort of timing because, okay, a lot of people have run out of patience with Eric Ten Hag, but I feel that they made quite a lot of bad decisions. I mean, if you're going to give a guy a new contract, you can't sack him a few weeks later and then bring in
No,
another
I
guy
totally agree.
who it's almost asking the impossible for Ruben Amorim. I know he wanted to stay at Sporting until the end of the season to win trophies with them and finish the job he'd started and just
Yep.
get to the end of the season and win more trophies. It'd have been a lot better for him to have come in the summer with a proper pre-season. I mean, it's so
Yep.
difficult for a manager to come in mid-season and try and change the way they play without a pre-season. I think people are expecting the impossible, and I worry that is going to get worn down in this sort of period between now and the end of the season by
Yep.
people, because it's Manchester United. Does people know he needs time, but people will run out of patience if we get a series of bad results. I mean, the best thing about tonight is we got the win because that takes any pressure off. If we'd lost, we'd have had
Of course. I
one
mean,
defeat, and all of a sudden people are on his back already. So the most important thing about tonight is we got the win. However, we got it.
yes.
We just got to move on, and I do think we probably
Well,
would have done better in the short term if we kept Rude because he was carrying on with work in
I
progress from
I saw.
the pre-season.
I totally agree with you, John. And I saw the light with Rude. I saw it. I saw a little bit of sparkle from the players to Rude. It's not. I don't see it. I don't see it as much with Amarin at the moment, and it's what you've just said. It's believing in that manager and seeing the way that Rude, you know, the players looked out and looked up. I think that's to me was very evident, and I'm the same as you. I thought he could have been given a little bit more time, and that. But we've got to realise that at this moment in time, John, United are a Rolls Royce with a mini engine, and that don't work because it doesn't purr, it doesn't play, it doesn't go out there and perform the way it should do, and we're seeing it, and the supporters have seen it, and former players have seen it, and they've been, And Ten Hag was a classic. He was, to me, I'd give him the benefit of the doubt, but after I watched a little bit, I switched off from him because I knew it was, well, I've got a plan. I've got a plan. And then problem being is you spent a lot of money and that plan never worked. Amorim, is he going to spend a lot of money on players that may not work? This is the black side of it, I'm looking, of the club to say, what happens if this doesn't work? I know it's a big if. I want him to do well, but what happens if it doesn't? Are you going to do the same? Another. You can't keep going on like this. You've got to give him time, but then again, will supporters give him time? Some will. They have a go at me because I tell them, oh, you're having a go. Well, that's because I'm part of the successful club. They're coming up from the second division when I was at Millwall to watch play against Man United. We knew that they were first class, top. We were just there, just playing. We knew that United shouldn't have been in there. They should. The second division in that time said, please, United, don't get promotion. And that was every other club that was in the second division. Why? Because every game, they'd take 10,000 people and they'd be able to give them finance. So when they got promotion and I got bought by United, it was like, wow. And you can't take that away. The Charlton era, the Doherty era, the Atkinson era. I've just said it. Ferguson era,
The difference is, Gordon. The difference is, Gordon, that the game was different then, and we actually benefited from going down to the second division because we were able to come back stronger, and it took the pressure off because we could win every week and come when you came back, you got to 2 FA Cup finals. We lost the one against Southampton, then we beat Liverpool, but I think you and the rest of the team all felt that we probably would have pushed for the league and could have won the league the next season because you were there and you were there right at the top of the table. But obviously, because
we've done that, and Europe was open for us as well, John. And so it did, and times have changed. We got every Tom, Dick, and Harry from every country playing into the Premier League. That's okay, fine.
But the difference is United can't go down to the second division and rebuild.
No,
You've got to do it you've got to do it in the full glare of the spotlight with the media on your back all the time. So that's where I feel like
it won't go down, John.
I feel that Ruben's in a very difficult situation. Hopefully, he's a lucky manager, and we'll get results that'll keep the pressure off.
Exactly what you've just said, John.
Exactly
what you just said.
Though, if he has a bad run and people get on his back, then it's going to drag him down. I did even sense after the game on Sunday, I felt that his tone was changing a little bit because before the game it was very positive, and all of a sudden he sees what a big job it is and how long it's going to take. And I felt it was a little bit negative already after one game. So at least tonight he's won, so he won't have the same reaction. And let's see what happens on Sunday. And you did mention it earlier about the ticket prices. I was going to wrap up on the ticket prices because a lot of fans have. I've been going to Old Trafford since 1965, and I remember when it cost a few pence to go and stand on the Stretford end. But now it's become absolutely ridiculous, and a lot of fans are really up in arms because the minimum price now for a ticket for the rest of the season. Okay, most of the tickets are sold for the matches between now and the end of the season, but whether you're a senior or whether you're a junior or whatever, the minimum price for a ticket is £66, which is double what it was before, and it just seems. I don't understand why the football club, when you need the supporters, when you need them to, if you're going to build a new stadium, you need 100,000 people there. Why? It just seems so short-sighted to me to be alienating fans and the old legacy fans who've been going for decades. And a lot of people now are being driven away from the football club because they can't afford it. Well, and what's more worrying is the kids, because if it's going to cost you 66 quid to take your son to a game or your daughter, two of you, that's 132 quid. Well, people can't afford that. And that's before you've got to the game and travel from wherever you've come from, and then you've bought a drink or whatever, and you maybe bought a programme. It's going to become like going to the theatre. I know we call it the theatre of dreams, but they're turning Manchester United into going to the theatre because it's going to go so expensive. So I know you've had your own issues with, season ticket and that, and it's kind of whether you're a former player, whether you're a fan that's been going for decades, I feel like the fans that have really made this football club the great support that we've got, we're kind of being pushed out. And I feel I'm being pushed out as well. I mean, I've been going, as I said, since 1965. I can't afford to take anybody to a game and pay 132 quid, just especially from a team that's not very good at the moment. And where do you stand and all that? What do you feel a lot of sympathy? You must hear from a lot of fans who are telling you about this at the moment.
Yeah, I do, and I can. There's my sympathy goes out to them because I had the very similar situation, but I gave my season tickets up because there was rules and regulations on it, and I couldn't give my tickets to any of my family, so to speak, without them having to know what size trousers they wore. And once you get a season ticket, you should be able to say, "Well, I can't go, but this person can go," And and when I was informed about it, I thought, my God, if it's happening to me, what's it going to happen? What's it going to be like for the supporters that go on a regular basis? That I feel so saddened for them because they've gone for generations. They've gone and they've supported the club, and yet there's no break. There's no break for them, and they're red and white all the way through, and yet what they've got to do now is you know, like you said, 130 odd. Wow.
I think
So
this is the problem, not just for
I'm
Manchester
saddened,
United.
boy. I have no answer. I have no
No.
answer, but
Well, my
I feel
answer,
for you guys.
I have an answer, but I don't think it's going to happen. But for me, only way that we get things changed is not by our supporters protesting on their own. We are going to be protesting before the game on Sunday against Everton. That's going to be a joint protest with United and Everton fans. There's also going to be a protest over at the Liverpool City game. So you're going to have the big four clubs who are going to be protesting about the fact that we want to. It needs regulation. We've got this football regulator who's supposed to be appointed at some time. I don't know whenever he's going to be appointed because we've been talking about it for ages. And it's. I feel like unless you've got some kind of government intervention to protect football clubs and fans, for me, football is a working class sport that's been stolen by people with money, and it's going to be a case of if we're not careful, people are going to lose interest in the what I call the elite level of football. It's going to become a TV spectator sport, and I see more supporters now being driven towards lower leagues. People now are looking forward to going to watch championship games or lower leagues because it's taking back in time to what it used to be like, where you didn't have to
Yes,
sort of like get a mortgage out or sell stuff
I
to go
I
buy a ticket
I
for a
I
football match.
I totally agree because when I come home, I don't go and watch the big games. I'm not interested in the big games. I don't like watching the big games. I think big game has changed a lot. Um, I watch United, but I don't watch the Saturday morning here. They have, 3 or 4 games on. I just look at the results. Why? Because the football to me is boring. That and people are being charged an absolute fortune to go and watch it. I'd rather go to, you know, Nantwich and watch Nantwich and stand on the fence and have a chat with the people that have been there for generations, and Macclesfield and teams like all the local teams that you can get some camaraderie between the players and the crowd and everything else. I think that's what's missing most of all now. But I enjoy watching the semi-pro games and right the way up to, for instance, I watch Millwall, I watch Luton, and it's nice. It's very nice indeed to be able to go to these grounds and get in and sit down and watch a game where, it's not what I look at is I look at a lot of prima donnas. I don't like it, and it's not it's not me. I come from a working class family, and I tell you what, like, get me down the local park, and funny enough, I went yesterday to watch a local game. I enjoyed it. And why do I enjoy it? Because it's football, and there's nothing. You're not. Look at me. I'm jumped up, and I'm finding that I'm losing it totally now, and now they've taken they demean the cups. The FA Cup's tried to be demeaned. It's the best FA. The FA Cup is the best domestic cup in the world.
I mean, you
You know,
say that. I
when's
mean,
that going to be?
the thing that I enjoyed the most, which I enjoy the most this season, is when I do my work for the BBC, is covering the FA Cup, because FA Cup, you're
Yeah.
going back in time, and you might be a game at Maidstone or Maidenhead or
Yes.
wherever. And I find that I really enjoy those games because it's taken us back in time to what football used to be
Yes.
like, 11 against
Totally.
11, and anybody can win. And you've got this, like you
I
say, you've
love
got the
it. I
relationship
love
between
it.
the players
I
and the
love the
fans.
underdogs. I love the underdogs having a crack at the big, the big boys. It's just great. It's just lovely to see, and so many of our players when I was playing and a bit later, so many of the players were playing in their local Saturday sides and got picked up by the pro teams, and then they made their name. That's brilliant. I don't see it now. I really don't. So, I mean, it's sad, but that's it, John. Sad.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate it. We're going for 45 minutes. That's half a game of football. And there's a little bit of an
Yep.
experiment. We've done it live. I normally we normally record it and make it look a little bit different. So this is very basic. I'm not sure if there's anybody out there watching because I haven't seen any comments. I'm not even sure if it is actually going out live. I think it's going out live. I'll check
If it
it.
does, it does, John. At least you and I have aired our views.
We have a good chat, and sometimes we have our best chats that are not on camera. And we had a good chat last night, and we've always got plenty
Yeah.
to say. I just think we've got to be to get the audience. We need to be a little bit more controversial, I think, and we probably sort of we can't possibly go back into the same topics quite a lot. But I think there is an audience out there. I know because I get a lot of feedback from people who remember you playing, Gordon, and people of my age who have similar views. But we live in a world now where if you're not doing it every 5 minutes, coming out on YouTube, and you're not doing it sort of 3 or 4 times a day, the algorithm, you don't get found. But so hopefully somebody out there is enjoying what we're doing, and if we get some feedback, we'll react to the feedback. And next time, hopefully we'll get some questions. But I'm not seeing any questions at the moment, which tells me there's probably
Not
nobody.
to worry. Not to worry.
But
I'm
anyway, you're
just going
probably
to
off
have
now
a.
to do. You're going to spend some family time, are you?
Exactly. I'm going to have my Thanksgiving dinner.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I've never been to a
I am.
Thanksgiving dinner, but it's something that we always see in the movies, and we hear about it from all our friends in America. And maybe one day I'll come
I'll
and
tell.
join you, Gordon.
I'll tell you all about it.
Okay. Well, here in the UK, it's 23 minutes past 11. I'm going to go home and get me dinner. So I'll see you next time,
Okay.
Gordon.
Well, look, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to my son's, and we're going to sit down. And it's only 3 o'clock here, so I've still got 6 hours. So
Okay. Enjoy.
that's the Thanksgiving dinner. But everybody, enjoy yourselves. I mean, what can we say that has not already been said?
All we can say is happy Thanksgiving, Gordon, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Thanks, John. Speak to everybody soon. See ya.